Hello and welcome back to r/entitledparents. And if you're new here, I hope you enjoy.
Entitled Dad doesn't seem to realise I am not a childcare service. Hello, welcome back to another post about my dad here. You guys seem to like the last one, so here's another. Being at boarding school with my sister and no adults is hard. The worst part is the fact that my dad expects me to babysit my younger sister. He doesn't seem to realise that I have my own life, my own interests, and that I really don't have that much free time outside of sports and school. He really expects me to watch my sister 24/7 and to constantly provide for her. If my sister was an intelligent, self-reliant, responsible kid, this wouldn't be the problem. Unfortunately, she is not, so all responsibility for her falls to me. The worst part about all of this is the fact if my sister does something stupid that I have nothing to do with, guess who gets blamed? Me. And I'm the one who has to rectify for her mistakes. No matter what the cost is for me. Last year, she got ditched in the town outside of our school. I had to get an Uber to go out there and pick her up. This was after I warned her many times to stay away from the person who ditched her in town. This took an hour out of my night right before I had a big test for one of my hardest classes, and I was annoyed to say the least. She didn't listen to me or even seem to care what had happened. Needless to say, stuff like this happened all of last year, and I had to bail her out of so many stupid situations that she got herself into for no good reason. The final straw happened this year. My sister forgot her book bag with her $2,000 computer in it in the gym during the first week of school. You think she'd learn from the mistake, but no, she did the exact same thing a week later. But this time, she left her stuff in one of her friend's cars. And of course, my dad immediately expected me to hand over my computer because she wasn't responsible with hers. I was really upset about all of this because my sister likes to go through my messages on my computer, and I was worried she would see my Reddit posts and figure out I was bi. I tried to point out to my dad that she needed to learn responsibility from constantly making the same mistakes over and over again, but he didn't care and told me to hand over my computer. This has all been building up to what happened today/yesterday. After the whole deal with the computer, I was really sick of being a babysitter, and there was tension building between my sister and I. Yesterday, I told my dad about something that happened where my sister got mad at me for talking about our cat, and I told my dad about it. He then decided that we needed to stop bickering like a bunch of old ladies, and he threatened to sell my car unless we started spending more conflict-free time together. I don't have much of a problem with this, but my sister sure does. She's refusing to follow his new rules, and my dad doesn't care about it. He says if we both don't do it, we're both going to be in trouble. And I just feel like it's incredibly unfair that I'm getting punished and could potentially lose my car for something my sister is doing. In case you couldn't tell, I'm very upset about all of this, and I'm considering running away from it all. I just don't see much point in sticking around anymore because nobody seems to treat me like anything but a glorified babysitter. If I can't control my own life with my family, I'd much rather leave and take control of myself. I'm super sick of not being treated like my own person and like my life revolves around my sister. Update. My father doesn't seem to realise I'm not a childcare service. Hey guys, I wanted to give you a brief update about what's happened. First of all, thank you guys so much for your support on my last post. I really appreciated it. Everyone helped out a lot and made me realise that people cared about me beyond the fact that I could provide for them. Anyways, I wanted to tell you guys about what's happened since my last post, because crap went down a couple of weeks ago. It's a bit of a long story, so buckle up. It gets slightly better for me at least in the end though. My sister was going to write an email to my father that my grandmother would have helped write, that basically told him he had several mental health issues and that they were going to go no contact with him for a little while in order to teach him a lesson. My sister wasn't writing this because my dad was having mental health problems. He was going to make her do a weekend of service with Habitat for Humanity because she had been a spoiled, entitled, ungrateful brat. My sister managed to convince my grandmother my dad was behaving erratically and had bipolar disorder. She then sat me down at a dinner and attempted to gaslight me into signing this email as well. I fully recognised the gaslighting attempt and I called her out for it, which led to her storming away. I knew she was going to put my name on this email regardless of whether I wanted it to be there or not, and I knew this kind of thing would make my dad blow his top, and that I would invariably wind up being blamed for my sister's crap show. So I called up my dad and knocked on her and my grandmother and told him I wanted no part in what was coming. And as I predicted, my dad blew his top off. First he called up my sister and yelled at her for like half an hour and made her apologise for gaslighting me. It wasn't a sincere apology, but whatever. Then he called up my grandmother and laid into her for being manipulated by my sister. Then he proceeded to kick my sister off of all of our vacations for the next year because he was so mad. Instead of going to California this spring, she's going to be doing more community service with a charity like Habitat for Humanity, and will be doing the same stuff for this Thanksgiving and Christmas break. The good news for me is that in between Thanksgiving and Christmas break this year, my school is going online, but we'll be doing sports practices. I'm currently trying to find a place to stay in between these breaks because if I can't, I won't be allowed to stay in the dorm because I'm not an international student, and as such, I will be forced to go back to my state and miss 3 weeks of my hockey season. However, for once my dad decided I didn't have to find a place for my sister to stay, so she could go to basketball practice. The other good news is that some time away from my sister will hopefully be better for my mental health and just my self-esteem in general. I had to stay with my sister in a hotel last night, and we went out to a nice restaurant with my grandparents. I spent a lot of time deciding what I wanted to wear and settled on some slacks, a button-down shirt and a blazer. I thought it looked nice, but the first thing my sister did when she saw it was tell me I looked like Hillary Clinton and that I was going to go to a retirement home soon. She also asked me if I was gay, which I said no to because of comments like these, and told me that I looked like I was gay. Needless to say, I almost cried because I very rarely dress up and I try to make it count when I do. I also spent most of the dinner being withdrawn and cutting into my own skin with my fingernails out of nervousness because I wanted to focus on something other than my sister's comments. She then, of course, tried to play the whole thing off like it was some compliment when I told my grandmother, but thankfully my grandmother didn't believe her crap this time. The other good news is that with the less time spent together on breaks and stuff, I feel better then too. Normally, I really dread going on vacation with my sister because my dad makes us share a hotel room, and I hear comments like what I just said above all of the time. As well as the other ones about my body that I will not go into because they are massively inappropriate. I also came out to my dad as bisexual as well. He didn't care all that much, and it was a brief, not even 2-minute phone conversation where he mainly focused on what my plans with my sister were that week because of course. That didn't make me feel great either because I was just glad to be out of the closet. However, he still voted for Donald Trump and tried to say Donald Trump wasn't homophobic, but I was like, the guy also mishandled a pandemic which has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans, but do go off. Anyways, thank you guys again so much for your support. I really appreciated it. Hopefully my sister doing some community service for the less fortunate will help her realise what a brat she's being. And maybe she'll stop acting like one. I'm not particularly holding my breath though. And our final story today. You're scaring my child by not speaking English. So, I worked as a cinema technician for quite a few years, and I've had my run-ins with entitled parents. Corona has given me ample time to reflect on those meetings, and here's one of them. So in the summer, my country gets quite a few tourists, and especially American ones. They're often visiting to see where their family comes from, and that sort of stuff, and they're generally nice, most of them. But not this Karen. She was different. She, her husband, and their entitled kid came to the cinema in the middle of the day. There were very few people, since we Norwegians like to get our sun whenever it pops up. Normally, when Americans come into the kiosk to buy something, they ask whether I speak English or not, and I say I do, and we continue the transaction in English. Fair enough. I sort of reacted when Karen didn't ask me if I spoke English, but I do, so no harm done. She wanted to see a children's movie because of Entitled Kid. I said all of them were dubbed. After explaining to a now slightly irritated Karen what dubbing meant, she became a little angry. I told her a movie was starting in about an hour, And that movie was in English, and her kid could get in with her. She complained a little more, and it ended with her slamming some money on the register and demanding a free popcorn goblet for their time that I wasted, which she didn't get because she didn't deserve. After about 1 hour, I hear screaming coming from the entrance to the auditorium. I of course run to see what's up, and I see Karen really yelling at my co-worker. Now, my co-worker at the time was a very old man, a very old Norwegian man. Fun fact about Norway, most of us speak English, but a lot of older people here don't. The part in Norwegian is what I say to my co-worker, and the part in English is what I say to Karen. Me. Norwegian stuff. What's wrong? Can I find the auditorium? Co-worker. I don't know, I think she asked me something and I tried to say I don't speak English. Karen. Excuse me, this man refuses to accommodate us. Me. How? He refuses to speak English. Me. He doesn't speak English, he speaks Norwegian. Karen. How can he not speak English? This is terrible customer service and now he's scaring my child. Me. I'm sorry, but you're in Norway and a part of the population doesn't... I demand to speak to your manager. Me. I'm sorry, but that isn't possible. Karen. Why not? Me. Because he is my manager. I gestured to my older co-worker. He tried to insist that I call an actual manager, but my co-worker was the only manager available, so that wouldn't be possible anyway. She and Entitled Kid went in to see their movie. After the movie, they came to the kiosk and demanded a refund because the subtitles were in the way, which of course they also didn't get. She was easily my weirdest and rudest American customer. Imagine going to holiday. I don't know, man. Imagine going on holiday and expecting everybody to speak the same language as you when you're actually in a different country with a different national language. Good times.